As we speak, one of the most high-profile entertainment sector homicide hearings in modern history is airing live out of Los Angeles. Millions of fans know him as D4VD, the multi-platinum indie artist behind the global hit Romantic Homicide. But right now, inside a high-security courtroom, prosecutors are systematically displaying the gruesome forensic puzzle they claim proves he is a calculated killer. David Anthony Burke is facing a staggering list of capital charges. The prosecution alleges that he groomed, stabbed, and dismembered 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez using online-ordered chainsaws, all to bury a sexual relationship that threatened to shatter his $10 million music empire. This week marked the first time the public and Celeste's horrified parents sitting in the front row saw the graphic reality of the evidence. And what has just been testified to on the stand by homicide detectives changes everything we thought we knew about this case. To understand the sheer weight of what is happening right now, you have to realize this isn't a quick legal formality. This is a multi-day marathon preliminary hearing where the state is laying bare every single piece of evidence to force a jury trial. And the details coming out of Day 1 and Day 2 are deeply disturbing. First, California Highway Patrol officers took the stand to describe the exact moment they cracked the case wide open. They testified about responding to a Hollywood tow yard where a luxury Tesla registered directly to Burke had been abandoned. Inside the vehicle's front trunk, the frunk, officers discovered two heavily sealed bags. The testimony was graphic. Detectives described finding the victim's head and torso in a large black bag, while her severed limbs were packaged separately underneath. The decomposition was so advanced that investigators testified her facial features were completely unrecognizable to the naked eye. But Day 2 shifted focus entirely to the money trail and the alleged motive. Prosecutors called Burke's personal financial team and music industry handlers to the stand. Financial witnesses testified under oath that Burke's music catalog had pulled in an astronomical $10 million between 2023 and 2025. The prosecution's core argument is that Burke was fiercely protective of this surging wealth. His money manager testified that while he had heard the name Celeste passed around by Burke's inner management circle, her identity and her true age were kept entirely in the dark. The state argues this massive income is exactly why Burke panicked when the 14-year-old threatened to expose the illegal relationship. Perhaps the most chilling revelation from the current hearing is the physical evidence presented to the judge. Detectives testified that after Burke's arrest, they documented a red ink tattoo reading Celeste on his left ring finger, alongside a tattoo reading Shh on his index finger. Forensic photos shown in court revealed that the victim had the exact same matching Shh tattoo on her own hand, though the prosecution noted that the ring and pinky fingers on her left hand had been completely removed during the dismemberment. Throughout these grueling days of graphic photos and financial breakdowns, observers inside the courtroom noted that Burke sat in his orange jumpsuit, showing absolutely no visible emotion. There was a tense procedural battle right at the start, where his defense attorneys aggressively fought to have his shackles removed, arguing they were undignified. The judge compromised, allowing his handcuffs to be removed so he could take notes, but keeping his ankles heavily chained to the floor.
Burke's defense team maintains his absolute innocence, firmly stating that the actual evidence will show he did not cause Celeste's death. But because the prosecution has filed special circumstances, including lying in wait and murdering a witness for financial gain, this hearing carries the ultimate stakes. If the judge binds this over for trial and he is convicted, David Burke faces either life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. When Los Angeles Robbery Homicide Division Detective Joshua Byers took the witness stand, he didn't just give a testimony, he laid bare a digital paper trail so calculated it completely dismantled any defense of a sudden crime of passion. According to the state's newly unveiled data, David Burke did not panic after Celeste's disappearance. Instead, he went to work. Investigators testified that they uncovered massive data dumps from Burke's iCloud account, mapping out a series of digital and physical purchases specifically designed to incinerate, dissolve, and conceal human remains. The timeline of destruction begins immediately. Prosecutors assert Celeste was murdered on night of April 23, 2025. The very next morning, on April 24th, just hours before his debut studio album was set to drop globally, Burke's digital logs show he opened a Postmates account. He ordered a heavy-duty digging shovel from Home Depot, having it couriered directly to his rented Hollywood Hills property. But a shovel was only the beginning. Detectives testified that Burke quickly realized a shallow grave wouldn't suffice. Over the next 2 weeks, the internet-savvy musician began establishing a network of online identities to distance himself from the dark work happening inside his garage. According to digital forensics, Burke set up multiple shadow accounts under fake names. On Amazon, he operated under the aliases Travion Davis and Victoria Mendez. But while the names on the accounts were fake, the financial trail was entirely real. Detective Byers testified that Burke made a fatal operational error. He paid for these shadow accounts using his own personal credit cards and had every single item shipped directly to his residence. On May 1, 2025, using the Davis alias, Burke logged on to Amazon and ordered 2 industrial chainsaws. 4 days later, on May 5th, the same account purchased a very specific product from an online vendor. 2 City Morgue brand professional cadaver bags, alongside heavy-duty industrial laundry bags and a large blue inflatable pool. The details of that inflatable pool are central to the state's case. The prosecution's theory is horrifyingly clinical. They argue Burke set up the plastic pool inside his garage to act as a containment shield, a makeshift kill floor designed to catch every drop of biological fluid and prevent blood spatter from soaking into the porous garage concrete while he dismembered the 14-year-old's body. And the forensic science backed this up. Medical examiners testified this week that when they analyzed Celeste's heavily decomposed remains months later, they found microscopic blue plastic fragments deeply embedded in her bones and tissue. In court, state experts officially matched those fragments directly to the chemical composition of the blue pool Burke bought on Amazon. When police eventually raided Burke's home, they found the blue pool, the heavy-duty laundry bags, and 2 of the chainsaws stashed inside his garage. But a third chainsaw, a Makita model, purchased retail from Home Depot, was completely missing. The prosecution alleges this missing hardware was used for the most precise, chilling part of the cover-up. Medical examiners confirmed that during the dismemberment, Celeste's left pinky and ring fingers had been cleanly amputated. Those fingers were never recovered. Why? Because prosecutors revealed that Celeste had a visible tattoo of the name David inked across her ring finger. The state argues Burke took a chainsaw to her hands for one reason only: to permanently destroy the physical link connecting her body to his identity. But perhaps the most bizarre piece of digital evidence came from July 7, 2025, more than 2 months after Celeste had been killed. Apparently, realizing that keeping a dismembered body in his garage was a ticking clock, Burke went back onto Amazon under the name Victoria Mendez. This time, he ordered an industrial burn cage, a heavy metal incinerator built to withstand extreme temperatures, along with specialized fireproof floor mats capable of resisting up to 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. During a raid, detectives found the burn box completely unopened, hidden meticulously behind a piano inside the house. The prosecution argues this was Burke's ultimate plan, a mini crematorium meant to burn the remaining evidence to absolute ash before he departed for his international concert tour. The final link in this digital chain comes down to his phone. Court records show Burke used a top-of-the-line iPhone 16 Pro Max. In a strange twist, digital data showed Burke had custom-named the device Tranquilizer. According to Tesla's internal computer logs subpoenaed by the LAPD, Tranquilizer last connected to the vehicle's Bluetooth system on July 29, 2025. That is the exact same afternoon surveillance footage captures Burke driving his black Tesla down Bluebird Avenue, parking it on the side of the road where it would ultimately sit for months, and walking away down a secluded alleyway. To this day, investigators testified that Burke's physical Tranquilizer iPhone has completely vanished, leaving behind only the indelible trail of data left in the cloud. To prove that this was a premeditated execution rather than a tragic accident, the prosecution pivoted the entire courtroom back to a date long before the murder took place, February 17th. Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman published law enforcement body cam video right on the courtroom monitors. The footage showed sheriff's deputies pulling up to Burke's rented Hollywood Hills home during an early missing persons investigation. In the video, you can clearly see a relaxed, nonchalant David Burke standing on his porch, as a deputy explicitly warns him that Celeste is a minor, just 13 years old at the time. The state argues this specific body cam clip is the smoking gun for premeditation. It establishes under oath that Burke was fully aware of her age, establishing that when she later threatened to expose their relationship, he knew it meant a definitive prison sentence and the absolute collapse of his multi-million-dollar empire. But while the body cam footage established his mindset, it was the microscopic evidence found inside his home that permanently locked down the crime scene. Los Angeles robbery homicide forensics experts took the witness stand to detail the raid on his Hollywood Hills estate. When investigators first walked into the garage, it appeared entirely pristine, meticulously scrubbed down with industrial bleach. However, when forensic teams sprayed the area with luminol, the empty space lit up completely. Forensics experts testified that a massive volume of blood had soaked deeply into the porous concrete before anyone tried to clean it up. DNA analysts confirmed that blood samples recovered from those floor stains matched the victim's genetic profile with absolute certainty. Despite his defense team's claims that Burke had nothing to do with her death, prosecutors state that the garage was the primary kill floor where Celeste was fatally stabbed and systematically dismembered. As the preliminary hearing pressed forward, the prosecution sought to solidly lock down their primary motive, financial gain. To do this, they called the financial manager of Burke's management company, Benjamin Gregor, to the witness stand. Gregor's testimony laid bare the staggering numbers of the young artist's skyrocketing career. He testified under oath that between 2023 and 2025, David Burke was grossing an astronomical $10 to $11 million. That included a massive $3 million upfront advance from his blockbuster Interscope. But the real tension exploded during the cross-examination. The prosecution drilled deep into who exactly knew about Celeste inside Burke's professional inner circle. Prosecutors published an aggressive series of text messages from Burke's phone referencing sex, pregnancy, and emergency contraception. When pressed on how such a massive operation missed a 13-year-old child traveling with the star to London, Texas, and Las Vegas, the management team claimed complete insulation. Gregor testified that while the name Celeste was occasionally tossed around by handlers, her true age and the illegal nature of the relationship were kept completely hidden from them. The prosecution used this to hammer home their narrative. Burke knew that the moment Celeste went public, his $11 million empire would instantly evaporate. With days of grueling forensic and digital evidence concluded, both sides faced the judge to deliver their high-stakes closing statements for this preliminary phase. Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman stood before the court and painted a picture of absolute chilling calculation. The state argued that every single piece of data, the 2024 body cam where police warned him of her age, the Amazon aliases used to buy chainsaws and cadaver bags, and the graphic dismemberment inside his garage, pointed to a ruthless execution to silence a critical witness. The prosecution demanded that Burke be held over for trial on all capital counts, emphasizing that the special circumstances of financial gain and witness elimination make him fully liable for the death penalty. When the defense took the floor, they fired back aggressively at the gaps in the state's timeline. Burke's attorneys aggressively argued that the prosecution's case was built heavily on shocking, graphic imagery rather than direct, definitive proof. They focused heavily on a glaring forensic reality. The police have completely failed to find the actual murder weapon used to stab the victim. The defense argued that without a definitive weapon or an accurate, localized time of death due to the advanced decomposition, the state could not definitively prove David Burke caused her death. They pleaded with the judge to dismiss the first-degree murder charges entirely. There's more to this hearing than what made national headlines, and some of it came out through the accounts of people who were sitting in that courtroom day after day. A separate witness from Burke's record label, a senior finance executive, was called to walk the court through endorsement deals Burke had in place before his arrest, reportedly worth close to $500,000 combined, with companies including Bose, Hollister, and Crocs. During this testimony, a dispute arose over a termination letter connected to Burke's recording contract. When defense attorney Blair Burke attempted to steer the court away from that line of questioning, the judge pushed back sharply, telling her that if she took issue with his rulings, she was free to file a formal complaint after the hearing concluded, rather than argue it in front of him. On the digital side, investigators also pointed to a second phone recovered from Burke's home, a blue iPhone found in the den. That phone reportedly contained photographs of Burke's own passport and credit cards, alongside images of Burke and Celeste together. Defense attorneys have suggested the phone actually belonged to Celeste, not Burke, an argument prosecutions have pushed back on, given the personal documents found stored on it. The forensic account of the garage itself grew even more specific as testimony continued. A criminalist named Lauren, who has processed crime scenes for years, testified about locating the blue inflatable pool crumpled in a ball and about the dryer sheet discovered inside it once it was unfolded, evidence, prosecutors argue, that the pool had been run through a washer and dryer in an attempt to erase what had happened to it. She also described extensive staining throughout the garage, on a rowing machine, embedded in the grout between floor tiles, and soaked into a green tarp collected as evidence, all of which tested positive for blood beneath the surface once the flooring was pulled back. Separately, a criminalist who responded to the Tesla itself once it reached the tow yard testified that she recognized the smell inside the vehicle immediately as decomposing human tissue, a conclusion drawn from her experience processing more than 200 crime scenes over her career. Swabs she collected from inside the frunk were later confirmed to match Celeste's DNA. Even the discovery of Celeste's identification card, found months later along State Route 154 near Lake Cachuma in Santa Barbara County, became a point of contention. The responding California Highway Patrol officer testified to the exact coordinates where the card was recovered. When defense attorneys presented their own screenshot of those coordinates during cross-examination, the numbers did not match what the officer had just stated under oath, a discrepancy the defense used to question how carefully the discovery had been documented in the first place.
Through it all, those who have sat in that courtroom describe the same thing over and over. Burke, calm, detached, barely reacting as photograph after photograph of Celeste's remains were shown to the room, while just a few rows behind him, her mother wept. Outside the courtroom doors, Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman addressed crowds of reporters, stating firmly that the state has more than met its evidentiary burden to establish probable cause for a full criminal trial. As the hearing officially concludes, the final decision rests solely in the hands of the judge. David Burke will soon find out if he will walk free or face a jury of his peers for a trial that could cost him his life. This case has completely shattered the music industry and left a grieving family sitting in the front row of a courtroom looking for answers. What do you think is the most damning piece of digital or financial evidence brought forward in this hearing? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to follow the active updates as this trial officially moves forward, and click the video on your screen right now to see our deep dive analysis of the digital forensics.